If she can pull away from you without feeling anything, it's not always because you lacked value. Most of the time, it's because you became too easy to access. Let's be honest, folks. A lot of men believe attraction grows when they give more and more of themselves away. More attention, more reassurance, more availability. They respond instantly, tolerate behavior that bothers them, rearrange their lives to keep her comfortable, and slowly lose the very thing that made her interested in the first place. And at first it seems to work. She texts back. She smiles. She stays engaged. But over time, something changes. Her energy shifts. She becomes colder, more distant, more uncertain. And you're left confused, wondering why things suddenly feel different. Here's the truth most men never hear. You didn't lose attraction because you cared too much. You lost it because you stopped respecting yourself in the process. Because when a man has no boundaries, no standards, no emotional control, there's nothing left for her to admire. And without admiration, attraction slowly disappears. High-value women are not attracted to desperation. They are drawn toward calm strength, clarity, self-control, and a man who knows exactly what he allows and what he refuses to tolerate. In this video, we're going to break down the boundaries that instantly change the way women see you. Not manipulation, not mind games. Real principles rooted in confidence, emotional discipline, and masculine presence. Once you understand these, you stop chasing completely. And strangely enough, that's when she begins leaning toward you naturally. Let's get into it. Number 1. Your time is valuable. This is one of the biggest mistakes men make without even realizing it. They treat their time like it means nothing. Always available. Always waiting. Always ready to drop everything for her. And somehow, they think that proves loyalty or interest. Let's be real, my friend. Constant availability does not increase attraction. It destroys it. Because when something is always accessible, it stops feeling valuable. Let me show you exactly how this happens. Michael is 53. He meets Olivia, 47, at a friend's gathering in Chicago. They connect instantly. Good chemistry, easy conversation, strong attraction. Olivia texts him later that night. Michael replies immediately. The next morning, she texts again. Instant reply. She asks if he's free that evening. He cancels plans just to make room for her. At first, Olivia enjoys the attention. Most women would. But over time, something subtle changes. She begins responding slower. She becomes less invested. Why? Because in her mind, Michael's entire world is now centered around her. There's no mystery, no structure, no sense that his time matters. Now imagine the same situation handled differently. Olivia texts Michael. He responds later because he's actually busy living his life. She asks to meet last minute. He calmly says, "Tonight's packed for me. Let's do something Friday instead." No guilt, no over-explaining, just clarity. And immediately the dynamic changes, because now his time feels intentional, structured, valuable. She starts viewing him differently. That's what most men fail to understand. Women don't respect a man who abandons his own life every time she appears. They respect the man who already has a life worth protecting. Marcus Aurelius said that your life becomes what you give your attention to. And if all your attention is consumed by her, she eventually feels the weight of that. Not attraction. Pressure. A man with direction creates emotional tension naturally, because she realizes she's entering a life already in motion. That's attractive. A man waiting around for validation feels emotionally dependent, and dependency kills desire faster than almost anything else. Number 2, learn to say no without guilt. This boundary changes everything because most men are terrified of disappointing women. Let's be honest, folks. A lot of men don't struggle with confidence. They struggle with approval addiction. They're afraid that if they say no, she'll become upset, lose interest, or walk away. So instead of being honest, they overcompensate. They agree to things they don't want. They tolerate situations they dislike. They sacrifice their own comfort just to maintain connection. And every single time they do that, they weaken their own position. Epictetus said that no man is free if he cannot control himself. And if you cannot say no when something doesn't align with your standards, you are not operating from strength, you are operating from fear. Now understand this clearly. Saying no is not rude, it's not cruel, it's not rejection, it's self-respect. Women don't lose attraction because you occasionally say no. They lose attraction when they sense you're incapable of saying it at all. Let's break this down. Imagine she asks you to cancel something important just to accommodate her last-minute mood. Most men immediately fold. They apologize. They explain themselves excessively. They try to keep everything smooth. But a grounded man responds differently, calmly. That doesn't work for me tonight. That's it. No emotional panic, no defensive speech, just a boundary. And something interesting happens when you do this consistently. She starts respecting your decisions because they feel real, solid, stable. Most men bend under pressure. A man who doesn't immediately stands out. Now, this doesn't mean becoming cold or difficult. Strength isn't loud. Strength is calm. Seneca wrote that true power is the ability to remain steady without needing approval from others. And that's exactly what this is. You stop negotiating your standards for temporary validation. Number 3, never tolerate disrespect. This is where many men quietly destroy attraction without realizing it. Disrespect rarely begins in dramatic ways. It starts small. A dismissive tone, constant lateness, broken promises, sarcastic comments that cross subtle lines. And most men ignore it because they don't want conflict. But every time you tolerate behavior that violates your standards, you silently teach her how to treat you. Let me show you what this looks like. David is 56. He's dating Sarah, 49, in Miami. At first, everything is smooth. Then small behaviors begin appearing. Sarah constantly arrives late. No apology. David notices it but stays quiet. Later, she cancels plans repeatedly without effort to reschedule. Again, he says nothing. During conversations, she occasionally speaks in a disrespectful tone. He laughs it off to avoid tension. But here's what's really happening. David's standards are disappearing in real time. And once respect disappears, attraction slowly follows. Now compare that to another version of David. Same situation, same woman. Sarah shows up late. David calmly says, "I take my time seriously." No anger, no lecture, just clarity. She cancels last minute. He responds, "Let's plan another time when schedules are clearer." Again calm, controlled, grounded. Suddenly the dynamic changes because she now understands there are standards attached to access. Marcus Aurelius said that you become what you tolerate. And in relationships, that becomes painfully true. Tolerate inconsistency, and you invite more of it. Tolerate disrespect, and you slowly lose emotional authority in the relationship. Here's what most men misunderstand. Setting boundaries is not about controlling women, it's about controlling yourself. It's deciding what behavior aligns with your standards and calmly enforcing those standards without emotional chaos. And women notice this immediately. A man who calmly addresses disrespect feels emotionally grounded. A man who ignores everything feels uncertain, and uncertainty weakens attraction every single time. Number 4. Stay calm under pressure. This is where a man's emotional discipline gets revealed. Not when things are easy, not when she's affectionate and engaged, but when tension enters the interaction, when she becomes distant, when she challenges you, when her energy shifts unexpectedly. Most men collapse emotionally during these moments. They become reactive, defensive, needy. They chase reassurance. They over-explain themselves. And in doing so, they reveal emotional instability. But attraction is deeply connected to emotional steadiness. Marcus Aurelius said that you have power over your mind, not outside events. And that principle becomes incredibly important in relationships. Because women often observe how you respond under emotional pressure. Not necessarily to manipulate you, but to understand your emotional stability. Can you remain calm when things feel uncertain? Or do you immediately lose control of yourself? A grounded man stays emotionally centered even when tension appears. He doesn't panic. He doesn't spiral. He doesn't become desperate for reassurance. And that calmness creates safety. Let's be honest, folks. Emotional control is rare today. Most people are ruled by reactions. A man who remains composed when emotions rise instantly separates himself from the crowd. And no, this does not mean becoming emotionless. Stoicism is not emotional suppression, it's emotional mastery. You still feel everything, you simply refuse to let your emotions control your behavior. That's what women trust. Stability, presence, calm leadership during uncertainty. Number 5, use silence wisely. Most men fear silence because silence exposes insecurity. The moment a conversation slows down, they rush to fill the gap. They talk excessively, joke constantly, explain too much, anything to avoid stillness. But silence, when held confidently, becomes powerful. Imagine sitting across from someone who doesn't panic during quiet moments. Someone comfortable enough in themselves to simply exist in the space without needing constant stimulation. That creates tension, presence, curiosity. Brian is 57. He's having dinner with Lisa, 50, in San Francisco. Their conversation pauses naturally. Lisa looks at him. Most men would immediately break the silence. Brian doesn't. He stays relaxed, holds eye contact calmly. And suddenly, the energy deepens. Why? Because controlled silence communicates emotional confidence. Marcus Aurelius wrote that not everything needs to be spoken, and in attraction, restraint often creates more impact than constant expression. Silence allows emotional tension to build naturally. It creates space for anticipation, space for thought, space for feeling. And women respond strongly to men who don't desperately try to control every moment. A man comfortable in silence appears grounded. A man terrified of silence appears anxious. And attraction always moves toward emotional certainty. Number 6. Put your mission first. This is where everything changes, because once a man loses his purpose, he slowly loses himself. Too many men make women the center of their lives. Their schedule revolves around her. Their emotions depend on her attention. Their priorities disappear the moment attraction enters the picture. And eventually, the woman notices. Not consciously at first. but she feels that his direction is fading. And when a man loses direction, attraction weakens because purpose is deeply masculine energy. A woman should never become your mission, she should complement it. Marcus Aurelius believed a man must stand firmly in his purpose, regardless of outside influences. And that mindset creates enormous attraction, because women feel secure around men who remain anchored in their direction. When your life already has movement, structure, goals, discipline, and vision, your energy feels different. You're not chasing validation anymore. You're inviting her into an already meaningful life. That changes the entire relationship dynamic. A man with purpose feels emotionally stable. A man without purpose becomes emotionally dependent. And dependency creates pressure women eventually pull away from. Number 7. Stop trying to fix her emotions. This is one of the most misunderstood areas of attraction. Many men believe love means solving every emotional problem she experiences. So the moment she becomes upset, they panic. They rush to repair the mood. They over-explain, over-comfort, over-manage. But often that destroys attraction. Because women don't always need emotional solutions. Sometimes they simply need emotional space. Jason is 54. His girlfriend is frustrated after work. Most men would interrupt immediately with advice or solutions. Jason simply listens calmly. He stays grounded, present, relaxed. After she finishes speaking, he says, "Sounds like today was exhausting." And that's it. No fixing, no controlling, no emotional panic. And ironically, she feels more supported because she feels understood rather than managed. This is what emotionally grounded men understand. You do not need to absorb every emotional wave around you. You simply remain steady while emotions move naturally. That steadiness creates safety, and safety creates deep attraction. Because when a woman realizes your emotional state doesn't collapse every time hers shifts, she begins trusting your presence on a completely different level. And that's rare today. Very rare. By the time you master these boundaries, something changes inside you completely. You stop chasing. Stop proving. Stop overextending yourself for temporary validation. You become calmer, more intentional, more emotionally disciplined. And ironically, that's when attraction becomes effortless. Because real attraction was never built through desperation. It was built through self-respect, emotional control, purpose and boundaries strong enough to protect your peace. If this resonated with you, make sure you subscribe for more videos on Stoicism, attraction, discipline, and masculine self-mastery. And remember this, my friend. The strongest presence in any room is usually the man who no longer needs anything from anyone.